What is up, gents? Dirtbag Gaming here, the channel for casual raiders. If you guys are looking at this or you clicked on the video, you probably are just like me and you want to prepare for the new faction wars that's going to be coming up in Raid Shadow Legends. So, if you're looking at the map, obviously if you guys already done it, you got the Lydia, congratulations, you're ready to go. If you haven't seen the guide, I have a full guide. Tips and tricks on how to get Lydia easier in Raid Shadow Legends. But today we're going to be focusing on the new faction that's going to be coming up in the Faction Wars Crypts, which is going to be, obviously you saw it, Shadowkin. So Shadowkin, we're going to go over all the champions, how you should be prepared. If you guys haven't got Lydia, this is definitely going to be another faction you're going to have to start saving for and getting champions prepared and ready to go for when it actually gets released. So we're going to go over each champion. We're going to give our own opinion on who's good, who could be used in Faction Wars, who could be good in dungeons, PvP, all the scenarios. And we're going to start bottom up. So leave some comments below on what you guys think you're hoping for. There's some champions that we still don't have, obviously a lot of the legendaries, but there's a couple epics that we still don't have. But we got most of the blues and the epics, and we got 2 Legos up here. So let's get into it. First, we got the 2 greens down here. They're both attack champions. There's a lot of attack champions. That's kind of what this faction is known for. So off the bat in Faction Wars, I always look for rezzers. So if you can get a rezzer on Faction Wars teams, it just makes things so much easier, and you can really just buff them up, even at level 50, and just make them super tanky, just kind of res up and finish the thing with 3 stars, which is exactly what you're going to be needing. So let's go over these 2 guys real quick. First off, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. And then attacks 1 enemy has a 50% chance of placing a weaken. Okay, so this is going to be a quick guide on people that we know are not going to be for Faction Wars. This is going to be more of like beginner towards endgame, or I would say middle endgame Faction Wars, because we're going to try and beat it, so that way we can get our Lydia, or just beat it because we already have our Lydia. So this one attacks 1 enemy, and also attacks 1 enemy 2 times, and it's almost like the monk, right? They try to make like another monk for the Shadowkin. So we're not going to be using these guys. All right, so they're not like armigers, they're not like anything like that, so just ignore them. Let's get into these guys. So this chick is, I think, really good for Fire Knight. She has 1 attack, enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing 100% heal reduction for 2 turns, which Fire Knight needs. This one decreases the speed, attacks 1 enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 50% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 10%. Up to a 50, 60, 75% chance. The third hit has a 50, 60, 75% chance of placing decreased speed. So, very good for the Fire Knight. I'm sure it will be good for the boss. We just have to make sure that we can make her tanky. She's a attack type champion, not a lot of HP, not a lot of defense, 99 speed. So, again, we're kind of gearing this mainly for Faction Wars, guys. But she is going to be very, very viable in the Fire Knight if you need her for a Fire Knight champion. Plays a Veil buff on the champion for 1 turn. And a 30% reflect damage buff on the champion for 2 turns. So again, the whole kit's for Fire Knight. So I'm not sure if she's going to be like our go-to for the Faction Wars, but at least for Fire Knight, she's very, very good, especially for bosses. This one attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff. This is great for bosses, good for a clan boss. Attacks 1 enemy, 50% chance of increasing duration of all debuffs on it. Yeah, clan boss all the way. Attacks 1 enemy has a 75% chance of placing a 15% weaken debuff for 1 turn. This is very good for the early game clan boss champions, or people in Raid Shadow Legends. Just good all around. Ally speed in all battles, that's awesome. All battles ally speed by 10%. So again, could also be good for clan boss. So if you're newer, you got this guy, Ninja Turtle looking dude, put him in your clan boss team. Let's go with this guy, Bloodmasked. HP type champion, so I love HP type champions and defensive champions for Faction Wars, obviously. But if you see HP and defensive types, they're probably going to be the first look at that you're going to for the Faction Wars. So let's get into Bloodmasked. Attacks 1 enemy, 35% chance to decrease target turn meter by 10%. That's great. It's up to a 45% chance once you're booked. Attacks 1 enemy has a 50% chance of placing a 15% decreased speed buff. And this one, 75, 100% chance to stun by attacking 1 enemy. So we really have to see which Faction Wars boss they're going to have in this faction, because some Faction Wars bosses, you need people like this to stun and get past waves or get past the one ad or whatever it may be. So this guy is actually one of the top people you might have to start leveling up. He's a rare HP type, 20,000 HP, which isn't bad. 1,008 defense. So this could be one of the newer champions that you might want to level up. Easier to book out. It's a 3-turn stun, and you can decrease the speed and decrease the target turn meter. So I would say this guy is definitely one of the top rares for Shadowkin to start leveling up, especially with that 3-turn stun. So there you go. There's one of them. All right, Bloodmast. Let's get into this one. Looks cool. Again, we're not going to go with aesthetics. They all look cool. Tax one enemy, 20%, 35% chance placing provoke. This one attacks all enemies. I love attack all enemies. Place a shield buff on the champion 2 turns equal to 20% of the max HP. This is a defensive type champion. Obviously, he's carrying a shield. But this isn't bad. Attacks all enemies. Plays a shield buff on... so it's only this champion. Plays a block debuff on all allies for 1 turns. Also plays a 30% decrease or increased defense on all allies. So pretty standard in dungeons. So can't use it for faction wars. So I'm gonna skip this guy. I'm sure we're gonna find better rares, but this could be a rare if you're newer to faction wars. But this isn't a bad defensive rare for faction wars. Just not gonna be one of our top people that we're gonna level up. This guy looks cool. Attacks one enemy, 15% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. So that's a 15, 25, 30% chance on an A1 to stun. Attacks all enemies. Decrease attack is almost needed in faction wars. So this is definitely good to start on an AoE, but it's a small decrease attack. And this one, so chance to provoke, 50% chance placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. It's just a place. You don't have to, it's not an attack. Place a shield buff on the champion for 2 turns equal to 20% of their max HP. Also places a 15% reflect damage buff on all allies except this champion. Okay, so that's pretty good. So he has 21, he is also an HP type champion. 21,000 HP, which is a lot. It's only on 1 person though, which kind of stinks. But reflect damage on everybody, which is going to be good for Fire Knight, good for himself. Okay, so he's not bad. He could be another person if you're beginning and newer to focus on because he's a rare HP type champion, but not for the late game type. So let's skip this guy. Let's go into the one of the ugliest people in the entire game, I think. Support type champion, attacks one enemy. Sleep is not the best. It is a CC, so it does ignore it, but it's not the best CC in the game. 20%, 30, 40% chance to sleep on an A1. That's not bad. This one attacks 1 enemy. So this is attacks 1 enemy. This attacks 1 enemy. Placing a block debuff. Fills this champion by 15%. And what says fills turn meter of all allies by 15% and places a 25% increase. So this is a turn meter booster champion. So she can sleep, she can block a buff for 1 person and increase turn meter. Accuracy in arena battle, so not even in faction war. So I'm going to skip on this one. Fanatic, so the old gray beard looking dude, attacks 1 enemy, void champion. 30% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, has a 30% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense instead if there are no 2 more debuffs. Okay, so he's a decreased defense person on an A1, which is good. 75% chance of transferring 2 random debuffs from this champion to the target, and place a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns and removes 1 random debuff. All right, so this guy's not bad. He's a good support champion. He has a decreased defense, and he increases everybody's attack. And he can transfer some debuffs. So he's going to be the maybe champion Fanatic for the support. So once we get into the epics, you're really going to start seeing who we're really going to focus on. But he's a maybe. All right, so we got the one rare void champion. So let's get into our epics. We'll start here. This guy I don't have, but some of my dirtbags do have him, and I think he's really, really cool. He could be amazing for the clan boss. But attacks 1 enemy, 30% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack for 1 enemy. So on the A1 has a decrease attack. Already great for the clan boss. Attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. The chance increased by 5% for each debuff on the enemy team. That's really good. So that's up to like 100% chance on an AoE. He's an 80% chance. This is definitely going to be one of the champions that you're going to want to bring in Faction Wars 100%. Start leveling this guy up now. All right. I don't have him, or else I would. Plays a shield buff equal to 15% of this champion's max HP. He has 22,000 HP. And a 50% ally protect on allies. So ally protect in Faction Wars is so good, especially with him already putting a shield buff on himself. Also heals this champion by 25% of the max HP and puts a reflect damage buff on them for 3 turns. The heals increase by 2.5% for each poison debuff on the enemy team. Yes, 100% yes. So this is a 3-turn cooldown. Again, this guy's very, very good for clan boss. So if you guys have him, test him out, play around with him, he's going to be very, very good for the clan boss. When attacked, has a 50% chance of placing a poison debuff on the attacker, which is going to help out with this heal. Resistant all battles, so this is going to be great for the Faction Wars. So this guy is definitely top 5 for Faction Wars for the epics, or for the whole faction. Obviously, all the legendaries could be good, but this guy definitely is very, very good. So there you go. This guy started leveling up. This is one of the guys we have. He's a defensive type champion. Attacks one enemy. 40% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. So leech heals every time you attack that person. So if you put the leech up on the boss, you attack the boss, you heal a little bit. It's almost like having like a lifesteal on the A1. This one attacks all enemies. So AoE, which is great, has a 50, 60, 70, 80% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack. So already right there, AoE, decrease attack. I'm probably going to level this guy up as fast as possible because we have a leech and a decrease attack. So this just heals your team and negates a lot of the damage. Plays a 50% or 60% increased defense buff on all allies and a continuous heal buff on all. Boom, there you go. So this is another top 5 epic champion that you're going to want to level up as soon as possible. This brings in the healing twice, so continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown, a leech, and decrease attack. Let's look at his passive. Removes 1 random debuff from this champion at the start of each turn. Will remove stun, sleep, freeze, fear, true fear, and provoke debuffs before other buffs. So like the must buffs, like if he has a decreased defense on him and a stun, he's going to remove the stun first, which is awesome. It's like the one Skull Crusher. So like a Skull Crusher, his thing just removes a buff or a debuff. That's such a good passive. Decreased defense in all battles, or increased defense in all battles by 25%. Boom, there you go. This guy is definitely one of the top people. He almost has 1400 defense, 17, not a lot of HP, but a lot of defense. Pretty quick, not bad. Really good guy. So he's definitely one of the people that we're leveling up right now. Chani, I don't think we have this girl. No, she's one of the people we don't have. She's attack. Attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of placing a 25% poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns. So clan boss, she looks really cool. This one places a 50% increased accuracy buff and an increased attack buff on the champion for 2 turns. Then attacks one enemy. Place an HP burn debuff for 2 turns if the attack is critical. So clan boss attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance, 50, 60, 75, 80% chance of increasing duration. So again, clan boss. And this one, immune to decrease accuracy debuffs, increases the champion's crit rate by every point. Okay, so that's not bad. She's pretty cool. Accuracy in all battles by 40%. So she has an AoE. Increases her own buffs and poison sensitivity. So not the best for for Faction Wars. I would probably skip this one. But if you have her for Clan Boss, she's definitely a very, very good champion for the Clan Boss. She already has 1400 attack, which is awesome. Very, very low HP. So I'd skip her for the Faction Wars. Sanchi, we have attacks all enemies. Has a 40% chance of placing a 50% decreased accuracy buff for 2 turns. This is going to be really, really good. So this on an AoE, decreased accuracy on the waves and the boss is going to be huge. So this is very, very good. Already on the A1, which I'm thinking stun set right there. Then we have attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased crit rate, which is going to have your guys get hit less, and a leech debuff for 2 turns. So there's only attack one enemy, but great for a boss. This is on a 2-turn cooldown, so she's just constantly going to be doing this. And then this one plays a 50% increased attack buff on all allies, then attacks one enemy, fills turn meter of all allies by 20%. All right, so you're going to, wow, okay, so she's very good. Support type champion, she's probably going to be another person that you're going to want to level up for support. She has a passive, revives a random ally. All right, so yeah, she was definitely, I looked at her before, she's definitely going to be the one people because of the revive. So this right here is going to help you actually get 3 stars in this Faction Wars because of the revive. Whenever this so revives a random ally with 30% HP whenever this champion, so she has to kill it, has a 50% chance of placing a fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn whenever an ally is revived. So, again, another support type ability. She has really, really good stats. Not really good at HP, but at least good defense, attack, and then speed is 102, which is very, very fast. So, probably a stun set or a relentless set, I think, just to kind of have... Yeah, probably a stun set, honestly, because the A1 decrease accuracy. Yeah, so stun set, accuracy. So yeah, we're gonna level her up, and we're definitely gonna make a guide on her. So she's good for the faction wars. This guy attacks 1 enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a decreased speed for 2 turns. So 1 enemy 3 times. Fire Knight, I'm already thinking. Attacks 1 enemy 3 times. I know 3 times. So it's on a 2-turn cooldown. That's awesome. Each hit has a 50, 60, 75% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 50. So 75% chance for each hit. Wow. On a 2-turn cooldown. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit plays a 5% poison debuff for 3 turns. Wow. On a 3-turn cooldown. We'll ignore 10. Alright, so this guy is probably really good for an unkillable clan boss team. Not really going to be for the clan boss, but this is really cool. And that. Nah, not really clan boss because A1 doesn't really do anything. And then this one doesn't really do anything. But at least for bosses, he's going to be able to control the turn meter a lot, be able to place poisons. So again, we don't know which bosses are going to be used in here, but if this is going to be one of the people that we need, this could be potentially a key guy to bring in for the Faction Wars bosses. We don't know yet, but if you need really a lot of turn meter manipulation, this guy's going to be good. He brings in the decreased speed, he brings in the decreased turn meter, and he has poisons. Decreased turn meter on a 2-turn cooldown. So maybe Relentless on this guy would be ridiculous, right? Just for like turn meter manipulation, right? So this could be potential, maybe. We don't know yet, but maybe. This guy, the Kaiju, really, really cool. This reminds me of 40k right there. But we got 5 skills. That's cool. He is a defensive type champion, so we already want to start looking at him. Almost 1400 defense. So let's go. Attacks 1 enemy, 20, 30, 40% chance of placing a provoke debuff on an A1. Attacks all enemies, has a 40, 50, 60% chance of placing a stun. That is huge. 60% chance on a epic, on an AoE to place a stun. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. Plays a 25% strength buff on all allies for 2 turns. Also a shield buff for 2 turns on all allies with less than 50% HP. The shield buff is equal to 15% of the target's max HP. Okay, so he plays a shield if they're under 50% HP, and a strengthen buff, which is amazing. This is on a 6-5 4-turn cooldown. Heals his champion by 50% of their max HP whenever an ally or enemy dies. So he's almost always going to be living because of that passive. Ally resist and all about it. Okay, so this guy is a potential maybe, like just a super tanky dude. He's going to be really good for CC. He's got the stun on a 3-turn cooldown, and he's got strengthen and shield. Also place a shield buff for 2 turns on allies with less than 50% HP. The shield buff is equal to 15% of the target's max HP. So of the target, so I guess the person that he puts a shield buff. So if your people don't have a lot of HP, it's not going to be a huge shield. So that's because most of the time your attack champions aren't going to have a lot of HP anyway. But being able to provoke and kind of control the waves, 20, 30, 40% chance to provoke on A1. So he's a maybe, right? He does have he probably could be good in a stun set, but mostly he's probably going to have speed and accuracy, most likely. Yeah, just to land the stun and the provokes. He's a maybe. He's a maybe. I wasn't really thrilled when he first came out, so I'm still not sure about him. Let's go to this chick. Green Affinity. Attacks 1 enemy, 40% chance of placing a block buff debuff for 2 turns. Okay. Attacks 3 times at random. Never like the random skills. Is a 100% chance of placing a 25% weaken, and removes all increased defense, increased defense buff on all enemies. Then attacks all enemies. Decrease cooldown of Lay Bear by 1 turn for each enemy killed. This is probably gonna be a pass for me. Nothing really bringing to the table. Yeah, I'm going to pass on this one. Gory looks really freaking cool. This guy's all about freeze. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit or place an extra hit on the target is under a freeze debuff. Heals the champion by 10% of the damage inflicted. Attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 100% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. So attacks 3 times at random and just freezes them for 1 turn. So really good CC. This is a 100% chance, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown once you book him out. And he plays an extra hit and heals himself if they're under freeze. So attacks 1 enemy will ignore increased defense and shield buffs. So if we have that Valkyrie wave, that's going to be really good. We'll also ignore 50% of the target's defense if they are under a freeze debuff. That's really good. I mean, you're going to be taking 20% less damage because they're frozen. That's just the frozen innately passive. But at least you ignore their defense when you do hit somebody frozen. Plays a counterattack debuff or buff and 50% increase attack buff on this champion for 2 turns if the attack kills an enemy. Okay, so this is on a 3-turn cooldown. That's pretty quick. Counterattack with the Cold Comfort skill. So with the A1, okay. Whenever an enemy places a stun, sleep, freeze, provoke, fear, or true fear debuff on an ally. That's a cool passive. So innately, he's just gonna counterattack you. I mean, you're probably not gonna be frozen, but at least you get to be counterattacked, like getting hit twice whenever somebody gets. So this could work on the boss if the boss does any one of these. So yeah, he could be really good for CC because there's only 5 people on the waves, and 3 of them at random are going to be frozen. You can probably put him in a Relentless set for 3-turn cooldown. 5, 4, 3-turn cooldown. You could probably put this guy in a Relentless set. He's really slow, 90 speed. A lot of attack. So this guy could be a really good CC target if you don't have the other CC champions. Yeah, so he's really all about CC and potentially hitting really freaking hard. But again, you don't know how hard he hits because the Frost is taking away 20% of the damage already. So this guy's a maybe. We have this guy, so I might test him out once it gets released. He's a maybe. But these 2 down here, so sought after. Let's get into it. So this first one, the Void, looks freaking amazing. Attacks 1 enemy. 40-50% chance at placing a decreased defense debuff for two turns. Then will attack all enemies instead if the target is under 4 or more debuffs. So this is going to be great for waves. This is going to be great for the boss. Like if you're attacking the boss, you can attack the 2 adds as well, or vice versa. So this is on the A1. Really cool. This one attacks 1 enemy 2 times. The second hit has a 75-100% chance of transferring all debuffs from this champion to the target. The first hit has a 100% chance of stealing all buffs from the target when attacking under a Veil or Perfect Veil. So whenever she's under a Veil or Perfect Veil, she's able to steal, like let's say the Valkyrie, you're able to steal the shields, steal the counterattack. So she's basically taking buffs off the enemy team. Place a 30%, or let's say you attack the boss, but this boss stole your buffs. She can then just steal them back. So that's pretty cool. That's on a 3-turn cooldown. But 100% chance to steal or transfer. It's cool. Plays a 30% increased crit rate buff and a crit damage buff on the champion for 2 turns. So that's on a 3-turn cooldown. Then attacks 1 enemy. Place a Perfect Veil buff on the champion for 2 turns if the attack is critical. So almost always you're going to be crit because of this buff. And you put a Perfect Veil buff on yourself. And then you do this attack afterwards. So she probably does this innately. Just hits really hard. And then she does this next to transfer her steal buffs. And then she could be doing this, which all the debuffs are already on everybody. And then she attacks everybody. Increases attack in Dungeon Knights. So not going to be used for whatever. So she's a potential, maybe for the boss, but she can, or the Valkyrie waves, right? She could definitely help out if the Valkyrie does get off the shield or counterattack. And then being able to just hit really freaking hard. So she's a potential, but let's get into this guy. This guy everybody talks about, really good for PvP. We have him, we leveled him up, he's good to go. We already have him booked. So attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit steals an increased attack buff. Each hit also has a 30% chance of stealing 1 random buff. So on the A1, already starts stealing stuff. So 30, 40, 50% chance of stealing stuff. Attacks all enemies, has an 80% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. So 100% chance, cannot be resisted on critical hit. So you're going to want his crit rate at 100%. That's like a guarantee. But he also buffs himself. So it plays a 30% increased crit rate and 30% increased crit damage buff on this ally for 3 turns and grants an extra turn. So you can book him out or get him at least up to 70% crit rate and as much crit damage and attack as possible. Then he's able to do this and then do this, which attacks everybody and steal or decreases the duration of buffs. So this is going to be a help with a Valkyrie wave if there is a Valkyrie wave, any other buffs, the boss buffs, just all. And his passive, which is going to be cool, immune to decreased attack debuffs, also will ignore unkillable buffs when attacking under a increased attack. So this is mainly for PvP. I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot in the Faction Wars. We might. Who knows? Looks really cool. But this just ignores unkillable buff. So I don't know if anybody has that in Faction Wars. In PvP, everybody has it. But Faction Wars, we're going to ignore it anyway. He has a speed in Arena, which isn't for Faction Wars, but he's a really cool champion. So this guy could help out a lot. I definitely would level him up. He hits really freaking hard. So he's cool. Cool guy, right, Jembo? So those are all the epics. All right, so let's go over the rares and epics one more time, and then we'll go over the legendaries because they're obviously really, really good. So first off, good for bosses, good for Fire Knight. This guy is a potential because of the stun, 100% chance to stun and decreased speed. And this guy, a potential depending on what we need. All right, so those are the rares that I would say, yeah. So this guy, and her are the rares. The epics, 100% would be this guy. We don't have him yet, but 100% would be Toragi. This guy, 100%. Her, 100%. She's like one of the only revivers. This guy, potential, we said, depending on what we need for the bosses. This guy, potential, if we need the CC. Like if you don't have any legendaries, just run what I'm saying here. And then this guy, potential for CC. This guy, yes, for your attack champion. He just kind of buffs himself up. He decreased the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. Cannot be resisted. So you don't need accuracy for this guy. You just need crit rate, crit damage, and attack. And he decreases everything. He also steals buffs. Yeah, so he can steal, attack, and a random buff. Not bad. And then she is a potential, but she's also very cagey because she puts up perfect veil on herself, so she's not going to be targeted. So she could be a potential as well. But the must-haves, Toragi, Hatachu, I'm killing these names, and this chick. So these 3 are almost musts if you have them. Like these are just going to make it so much easier. And then these other ones are potentials. All right. And then down here are potentials. Now let's get up into the legendaries. All right. So we haven't looked, I personally haven't looked at all these, but I do have these 2. And again, the legendaries are just going to be almost yes, like almost guaranteed, probably a guaranteed yes if you have the legendaries. All right. So we have Yoshi. Yoshi was the first one that they released for the fusion, I believe. He was the first fusion Shadowkin that we can get. He's a support. He's very, very quick for being his size. Attack, HP pretty good, and defense is all right, so he has a speed in all battles by 19%, so this could be a or for you. But we have attacks 1 enemy, 30% chance of placing a stun debuff. So on the A1 has a 30% chance of placing a stun. I'm not going to go based off of these because you're probably not going to be booking these guys out unless you use them for multiple places. Me personally, I'm probably not going to be booking them out. Attacks 2 times at random, has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased accuracy debuff and HP burn debuff for 2 turns. So right there, already good for the bosses. So 2 times at random, so you're probably going to hit the boss. And has a chance of placing decreased accuracy, which is amazing for the bosses, and HP burn. So there you go, already good for the boss. This guy places a 50% increased attack and increase accuracy buff on all allies. So there you go. You're buffing up your allies, so you don't need a lot of accuracy for you guys. If you have 100 accuracy, or let's say 200 accuracy, if you have 200 accuracy on your guys, which isn't a ton, but 200 accuracy, which is easy for like a banner or a neck piece or like a two-piece set, right? And your Great Hall. The Great Hall's already 80. The banner, let's say, is 76, so you're already at 160 right there. You get an extra 50% on top of that, so now your 160 goes up an extra 80. So now you're up to 240 accuracy with just this guy's buff. And increase attack, which everybody in this faction is like attack base. Also has a 50% chance of placing a Trophy debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. 75% chance instead if they're under increased attack buffs. So depending on who we're facing in the waves, innately he just puts out a True Fear, 50% chance, but increased to 75% chance if they have increased attack. So that's just a free, a free skill that you could put out on the waves. The passive is he's very good at increasing his turn meter for each enemy that receives a buff. So this could be great for the Valkyrie wave. This could be good for a lot of other waves. But if anybody on the enemy team is taking a buff, even the bosses, he's increasing his turn meter. So this is going to be definitely one of the good guys we could use. Now let's start at the front. All right, so I'm definitely going to be bringing Yoshi with us. I'm not sure what gear set we're going to be using. Probably just as fast as speed as I possibly can get. Maybe even a Relentless set. We might throw a really good Relentless set on him just so we can do this more times and do this more times. And obviously try and stun. So maybe a Relentless set. So let's go up here. We got Jantoro. Again, really cool. He's got decent stats, attack type champion, so he probably hits really hard. Attacks 1 enemy, grants an extra turn if they kill an enemy. So this is like the Septimus, A1 Septimus attack. Attacks 1 enemy, steals 100% of the target's turn meter, decreases the cooldown of Henri's Rage by 1 turn if the target is immune to turn. Okay, so I don't know if the bosses are immune. They might put them immune, I'm not sure. But if they're not, you're going to be able to steal 100% of the target. So basically, you steal the turn meter of whatever he's at, and then you steal it. So then he's going again. So Relentless set might be really good on this guy. But if not, this is just really good innately. So really good for the boss. Really good probably for Valkyrie waves, that he can at least steal one of the Valkyrie's turn meter. Who knows? Task 1 enemy place a 60% decreased defense debuff for a 25% weaken. So decreased defense and a weaken. Just does it, not even a chance. Will attack 5 times instead of 1 time on every 4th use of this skill. Wow. Okay, so this one, decrease the cooldown of Henri's Rage by 1 turn. This is a 4-turn cooldown. So this gets down to 4-turn to a 3-turn cooldown to a 2-turn cooldown. Every 4th time it uses it, attacks 5 times. That's really cool. Attacks or all turn meter fill effects are increased by 50% when used on this champion. Wow. This guy's awesome. I think he'll be really, really cool. You can put him in a lot of different sets. He probably hits really hard. And he supplies both this for the bosses. So this guy is definitely, if you have him, use him. There's a lot of gear sets you can use on him, but if you have him, let me know. I'll run a guide on him. Really, really cool. He's probably just going to be able to solo the boss. If it's the one boss where you timed it out by 13 turns, he's going to be a guaranteed boss killer for that boss. So definitely use this guy. This chick is really cool. I think I looked at her when she first came out. She is a support type champion. Does she have a res? No. I thought she did. All right. Attacks 1 enemy, then attacks the enemy with the highest turn meter. That's cool. Will attack the same enemy twice if the initial target has the highest turn meter. The second hit has a 50% chance of decreased target turn meter. So it's on the A1. So she's going to be attacking 1 enemy twice if it's the boss, or just 1 enemy and then another enemy to decrease turn meter by 15%. That's really good on an A1. Really cool weapon. Then attacks all enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a decreased accuracy and a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 75% chance of decreased target turn meter by 15%. That is awesome. So already 2 skills decreasing the target's turn meter. Removes 1 random buff from each enemy. That's awesome. Has a 75% chance of placing a block buff debuff for 2 turns on enemies who have buffs removed. That's cool. Also fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%. And wow, okay. So very good. So she's a very, very, very good support type champion, not just for, you know, Faction Wars, but I think all around she's definitely good. Like, just really good for Faction Wars, I would say. Not Faction Wars, Doom Tower. Like, that right there is amazing. That right there is amazing. This is gonna be so good for the Valkyrie wave. And this right there is amazing. What's her passive? Whenever this champion places a debuff on an enemy, okay, also decrease the target's turn meter by 5% for each debuff placed. Wow. Whenever this champion or ally receives a debuff, fills this champion's turn meter by 5% for each debuff received. She is godly. 115 speed. I want her. I want her so bad. 20k HP, 1100 defense, 115 speed. Speed in Doom Tower battles by 30%. God, she is so good for Doom Tower. She is amazing for Doom Tower. Whew, she is very good, and she's a blue affinity. All right, so if you have her, congratulations. It's going to be easy mode for Faction Wars. All right, Ninja, let's get in Ninja. So we did a guide on him in our free-to-play account, but if you have this guy, which you will, he's free, you should level him up. I'm going to be leveling him up on my main account. I'm going to be leveling him up on my free-to-play account. He's going to be my first legendary on my free-to-play account, which if you don't know, it's somewhere on my page. Go check it out. It's all for free-to-play players. But let's go over it. So definitely this, I already know he's going to be somebody that you're going to want on your team. Attacks one enemy, probably in a lifesteal set, just because he has an AoE. You're going to want him to survive. Like, he's not that tanky, and that's kind of the whole point of Faction Wars, is you want your guys to survive. So attacks one enemy, has a 45% chance of placing a decreased defense. Also fills his champion's turn meter by 15% when used against bosses. So really good for boss. I think I was saying he's good for clan boss, for new players as well. Attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 3 turns. So each hit, 3 chances to hit it. Also place a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns. So there you go. He's already cagey or tanky, so your other champions can be targeted, so that's good. When used against bosses, instantly activates any HP burn debuffs, including HP burn debuffs placed by this skill. So whenever he hits somebody and places it, it instantly activates it 3 times. That's really good. And puts a perfect veil buff on himself for 2 turns. Attacks all enemies, has a 75 if you book it up to 100% chance, which I think this guy will definitely want to be booked out. If you're free to play, I think he's going to help out in a lot of stuff. He's going to help out in Doom Tower. He's going to help out in Faction Wars. He's going to help out in Waves. Like, you can just have 100% chance to place a freeze debuff for 1 turn on a 4-turn cooldown. When targeting bosses, will only attack the boss, not all enemies, and will ignore 50% of the target's defense. Will also decrease the cooldown of the Hail Burn skill by 1 turn. So this goes down from a 3-turn to a 2-turn. So basically, he's just targeting 3 times, right? Giant Slayer Giant Slayer all day. Just keep doing the Hail Burn, proccing that HP burn, doing more HP burns, doing this multiple. Like, he's awesome. He's gonna be very, very good, helping out with the waves. This is gonna be good for the Valkyrie wave, right? Being able to just freeze all the Valkyries. He's got a passive, increases his attack and crit damage on single enemies hit by all 3 of Ninja's skills. So this is going to be very good for the boss. Increases by 20% and up to 10% for each hit for the boss. So really good passive. Is going to hit really hard. Again, I don't know if it's 100% of 1500. Somebody, if you know, let me know. Or if it's 100% of his total attack percentage, which will just be ridiculous. There you go. That's Ninja. I would definitely gear him up, level him up. He's going to be good for Faction Wars. We already went over Yoshi. This dude, freaking really cool looking. He's got this going through his eyes. Like, nuts. Okay. Attack type champion, 1500 attack, 92 speed, 1000 defense. Attacks one enemy has a 40% chance of decreasing the duration of 2 random debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Okay. If the target is under a fear or true fear debuff, has a 65% chance of decreasing duration of all debuffs by. Okay, so is he about fear and true fear? Probably. Attacks one enemy, will ignore 30% of the target's defense, fills his champion's turn meter by 25% after the attack. Okay, that's pretty good. So will ignore 30% target's defense and fill his champion's turn meter by 25%. That's really good. If the target is under a fear or true fear debuff, decrease the cooldown of dismay skill by 1 turn. This is dismay. So this is a 2-turn cooldown if booked out, but 3 turns. Decreases this from a 4-turn to 3-turn or a 2-turn. Attacks all enemies. Has a 75% chance of decreasing each enemy's turn meter by 20%. If there are any enemies under fear or true fear debuff, will also fill this target's turn meter by the amount of those enemies lost. That's awesome. So he's really, really fast. That's probably why he's slow. He's just going to be increasing his turn meter so much the entire time. Whenever an enemy's turn meter is fully depleted by any champion, has a 50% chance of placing a true fear debuff on the. Okay, so he's really good. He's going to be really good for the waves. Probably not as much for the bosses. He might be good for the bosses. Like, he's going to be able to. He doesn't put out any debuffs, but at least he's going to control turn meter a lot and put out the fear and true fear. It's going to be really good for the waves. Not quite sure for the bosses, depending on if the boss could be feared or true fear, which most of the time they probably won't be. But at least for the waves, he's going to be really good. So he honestly is probably the first potential. But if you have him, he's definitely going to get you to the boss. And then just sub out him for a rare. If you need like the turn meter manipulation for the rare, do that. But very, very good champion for the waves, 100%. I would use him, book him out, gear him out. We have Genzen. Not too excited about Genzen, but let's look over him real quick. Attacks one enemy 3 times. He is a attack type champion. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit fills his champion's turn meter by 6%. So 6, 12, 18%, you're filling your turn meter on the A1, which is good. Attacks all enemies, has a 7% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Each critical hit fills the champion's turn meter by 10%. Okay, so that's basically 50% that you'll be able to increase your turn meter because it's an AoE decreased defense. That's really good. And this one attacks one enemy, will ignore unkillable buffs and shield buffs. So this could be really good if we have a Valkyrie wave. Fills champion turn meter by 30%. Fills champion turn meter by 60% instead if the target has 50% HP or less after this attack. Wow. Also decreases the cooldown of steel parting. Nice. So decreases the cooldown. And wow, by 1 if this attack kills. Okay, so if you kill somebody, you decrease this by 1 turn, which is another AoE. And you fill the turn meter by 50% if you hit everybody. Okay, so he's basically going to start off by doing this. So now he's up to 50% turn meter. And then attacks one enemy, will ignore unkillable and shield debuffs. So then it'll increase it by another 60% after that. So he's just going to be going super, super fast. And be able to decrease this turn meter, 4 turn down to 3 turn down to 2 turn. Okay, so he's cool. He's definitely... there's your decrease of defense if you need it. Passive increased champion speed by 10 and resistance by 50 if there are fewer champions on this champion's team than the number of enemies on the enemy team. Okay, so this isn't really going to be used because you don't want your guys to die. But yeah, so he's maybe. He probably hits really freaking hard, but he's a maybe. That's why I wasn't really sure about him. He's just all about turn meter manipulation. He does have the decreased defense, but we do have other people for that. So he's a maybe. Not sure about him. Not really crazy defense or HP, so he's a maybe. We have him, which sucks, but he's a maybe. This chick, 100%. I think we wanted her from the get-go. She's the last one, too. So let's go over A1. Attacks one enemy. Nice. Place a 50% continuous heal buff on the ally with the lowest HP for 1 turn. Also place a 7.5% continuous heal buff on all allies with 30% HP or less. So she is just innately amazing right there for the first healing. Place a stun debuff on the target enemy for 1 turn, so just places a stun, as well as a HP burn debuff, a 60% decreased defense, 25%, then attacks the target. What? So boss, right? So you just basically put all this crap on one person and then attack that. So whatever the wave that you're facing, if there's like somebody that you don't want to go, or res, or whatever the hell it may be, boom, this could be good for the ads. If the one Faction Wars boss has the really hard-hitting right ad where you have to kill him or stun him, this could be 100% used. Or just the boss, you already have all these debuffs on the boss, so this chick is just godly in Faction Wars. Wow. Okay, that's freaking awesome. Dude, just imagine this for Clan Boss. Like, if this chick was in the Clan Boss, you already have all your buffs. All the other people that you need to bring and just, like, attack people. That is awesome. Removes all debuffs from all allies. 6, 5, 4, 3 turn cooldown. So this chick is just so good. She looks really amazing, too. Removes all debuffs from all allies. Then place a block debuffs on them for 2 turns. Also heals all allies by 35% of the max HP. And by a further 5% for each debuff. Wow, okay. So that's basically Hakkon Smash Lord's thing, but better? Same? Similar? Very similar. Perfect body. That's what it's called. That's really cool. Her passive, when receiving any debuffs, instantly transfers them from this champion to the... Oh my God. Will not transfer debuffs that cannot be removed. What is her rating? Clan Boss, Arena, Spider Den. Increases attack in Faction Chris by 42%. She is definitely the best Shadowkin there is, hands down. 105 base speed, 18,000 HP. I love it. Like, all right, so she's number 1. If you have her, congratulations, she's number 1. We don't have any rezzers, so the only rezzer, honestly, is the chick that can kill somebody and res you back up. So I'd probably make her number 1 of the epics, is the rezzer right there. So here we go. Any of the legendaries up top, that's your call. If you have them, level them up at least to 50 right now, and decide if you want to get them up to 60. You're probably going to want to get them up to 60 other places of the game anyway, but at least get them up to 50 to start with. These guys you're going to want to get up to 50 100%. Depending on if you want to get them up to 60 for Faction Wars or not, or use them in other places of the game, that's your call. This guy I already have at level 60, Genbo, but you're probably going to want to level them up to level 60 anyway. These other people, my account right now, I don't need a lot of new 60s unless I'm going to use them in other places. But for Faction Wars, we're going to probably have to get at least 1 or 2 60s needed to level them up, all right? But at least for now, this is what we started doing. Let's go over the people that we have. So I started taking people out of the vault and leveling them up. So we already have Genbo. He's level 60, so that's going to be one of them. Then we have this dude, defense champion. He's a level 50 already. That's the second one. We have this chick. I already told you is going to be the third one. We have Yoshi, level 60 in our vault. Not really kitted out yet, but he's going to be our fourth one. So now our fifth one is really depending on what we need for the waves. All right. We can even sub out this guy. I'm probably going to bring him because he's level 60 and I can put a lot of stuff on him. But we also have this guy I told you with the turn meter manipulation, or the increased turn meter by a lot. But that's about it. The fifth spot is probably going to be made for Ninja, honestly. Like, Ninja's definitely going to fill that spot pretty easily. So we got one. She was a potential. I wasn't sure about her, but we started leveling up to 50 at least just to kind of get started. And then whatever team we're actually using, we're going to kit out with books, especially epics or rares, for the next clan versus clan. But this chick, we're definitely going to book out. Do we 50%, 5, 4, 3? Yeah, so 3 turn cooldown with this if it's critical. Yeah, so we're probably going to book out her 100%. This guy, are we going to book him out? So many books. Maybe not. We're probably not going to book this guy out. Yeah, we're probably... Maybe if we get one in here, we might stop. Yeah, so we probably don't have to book this guy out. Ninja, I'm probably going to try and book out on my free-to-play, but not this one. Depending on if we need to. If we need to, we might have to. The Lego, Yoshi, we're not going to book out. Genbo is booked out. He just does a crap ton of damage and increase, his damage output. So those are the epics that I'm personally going to be using. Let's go over the rares one more time if you guys don't have the epics or Legos. Let's go over the rares. So this chick, Fire Knight, this guy, Claim Boss, this guy. So this guy's probably going to be easier to book out, but 30% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter. So there's a 45% chance. Place a decreased speed, and a 100% chance just to stun innately. So this could be a potential dude if you guys are newer. This guy, potential if you need the decreased guy. Marauder, potential if you need a decreased attack. No. And this guy, potential. Yeah, so you can remove 1 round debuff from each ally and place an increased attack for everybody. So if you guys have the rares, those are potential people. These two probably better than the other ones. But the epics, there's a lot of good epics that you should start leveling up. So why are we making this video? If you guys, depending on whenever the hell you're watching this video, if it already came out already, then you probably already know what good teams are going to be good. But this is I made this video just to prepare for the Faction Wars that's coming up, which is already announced. It's going to be coming up hopefully soon, but this is to prepare. If you guys are like me, there's not a ton to do besides like dailies, clan boss, daily clan versus clan, whatever it may be. But if you are done Faction Wars, or you're close to being done Faction Wars, or you're done Doom Tower, or whatever it may be, there's nothing really else to do. So it's just about getting prepared for the next thing that's coming on the game, which right now it's going to be the Faction Wars. What's Shadowkin? So guys, let me know in the comments below who you have, who you think, what you want me to. I'll leave a comment after your comment on what I think about a specific champion. But did I miss anything? Did I skip something over, or is there somebody that you think is going to be way better than I thought? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious on what you guys see. But join Discord if you haven't. The links below. We're giving away free account takeovers all the time. There's also, you can purchase account takeovers. That's in the link below as well. But Dirtbag Nation 5, DBN 5 is recruiting for Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss and Nightmare Clan Boss, and also Clan vs Clan. We have 5 spots open for anybody who has, I believe, 1.5 million, or if you're on Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss and you want to just be a part of a guild that is doing Clan vs Clan, pretty good right now. We need active members. Let us know. And then DBN 3 is our newer Clan Boss clan, right? If you guys are newer and you want to join that as well, go join that as DBN 3. I think you need like 400,000 to join that. It's not a lot, but guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for clicking on the video. Let me know what you guys thought, and we will see you in another video soon.